This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
This is your At Least We're Not Ass leader fan radio network.
Tweet that.
And KFAN. That's KFAN.com. 2 minutes and 22 seconds past the hour of 3 o'clock Central Daylight Time as we welcome you back to a very special edition of the Bumper to Bumper program. If you couldn't tell already, my name is Dan Barreiro. I am the host of the show. Guardsy is the producer of the program, and we are delighted that you're along for the ride. And, you know, my job today, Guardsy, I think, is to be kind of Pollyanna-ish, because I know Daubers are down.
They are.
They are big time down after what took place across the pond in beautiful, scenic, character-filled Dublin, Ireland, right?
Yeah.
We were edged by the Pittsburgh Steelers by a clinical, surgical Aaron Rodgers, who we didn't need.
No, we didn't.
And we find ourselves at 500 as we prepare to play probably a better defensive team, albeit not as good an offensive team, at least the way the Steelers looked against our defense on Sunday. But I think the mantra of the show should be, start to finish, at least we not ass.
Man, it's a shame the State Fair was a month ago because we have our shirt.
We do.
And now we're going to forget about it.
We've
got a whole year to remember this.
2-2 is not good.
No.
But it could be a lot worse.
It could be.
The Vikings could be undefeated, or could be winless right now at 0-4.
They could be.
Like the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you saw the quote. The starting quarterback for the Titans is Cam Ward, right? Highly touted.
Rookie. Highly
regarded. But they've had some difficulty getting out of the gate. And they were edged by the Texans 26-0 on Sunday, a Texans team that hasn't been able to score against anybody. And Ward was asked about it after the game, the current condition of the club. If we keep it a buck right now, we ass.
Tweet that.
We're 0-4. At this point, we have nothing to lose. We dropped a quarter of our bleeping games, and we've yet to do anything yet. If we keep it a buck right now, we ass. You can at least say the Vikings ain't ass.
No.
Right?
And you'd be keeping it a buck.
And we're keeping it a buck. Exactly it. I love the expression, and I thought it would fit nicely today. Now, it might not bring you that much up from... if you're a Vikings fan, you may say, oh, great. We're now comparing ourselves to the forever futile, forever terrible Tennessee Titans. No, I'm not here to say that, but at least, and it is, I think, I don't know if we could carry it for a full year to next summer for the State Fair, but if we could have an off-season bumper-to-bumper State Fair T-shirt, I think we've got it. At least we not ass. At least we can say that much.
I'm going to have to remember it, and I'm a little distracted.
We got some breaking news.
Did you see the Twins news that happened just before the show?
No! Dismissals?
I just pulled up my email. The Twins today announced that Rocco Baldelli will not return as the club's manager in 2026.
Wow.
A lot of statements here.
End of the road for Rocco.
I don't know if I need to read all of them, but I figure we should at least mention it.
I'm going to text Rocco right now while you read it.
Say, at least you not ass?
No, I'm not going to. I don't think I'm going to try any humor right now. I'm just going to try to be very straight with Rocco, but go ahead.
Derek Falvey, over the past 7 years, Rocco's been much more than our manager. He's been a trusted partner and teammate to me in leading this organization. Together, we shared a deep care for the Twins, for our players and staff, and for doing everything in our power to put this club in the best position to succeed. Along the way, we experienced some meaningful accomplishments, and I will always be proud of those, even as I wish we had ultimately achieved more. This is a difficult day because of what Rocco represents to so many people here. He led with honesty, integrity, and unwavering commitment to our players and staff. He gave himself fully to this role, and I have tremendous respect and gratitude for the way he carried himself and the way he showed up every single day. This game is ultimately measured by results. And over the past 2 seasons, we did not reach the goals we set. I take personal accountability for that, or responsibility for that, I should say. After discussions with ownership, we determined that this is the right moment for change in voice and direction. This decision is not a reflection of Rocco's effort or leadership.
Of course not.
It reflects where we are as an organization and the belief that a different voice is needed to help move us forward. I am deeply grateful to Rocco, Allie, and their family for everything they've contributed to the Twins. His impact extends well beyond wins and losses, and it will remain part of this organization for years to come.
Would it be politically incorrect for me to say the poll ads are ass? Would that be?
No.
I'm going to go with, and in fact, that's from a texter. Poll ads are ass. Cheryl Reeve acted like an ass. That's from Jody. We'll get to that story later. That's the one reason I almost got up for 5 a.m. sermons, but ultimately determined that was going to be a little ridiculous. So
Joe Polad did a statement too, but we don't need to read it.
We don't need to read it. So Rocco, this isn't, I think, particularly surprising that sooner or later this was going to happen to him. Let me ask you a fairly direct question. When you evaluate the current condition of the franchise on the field, forget the PR nightmare that they have pretty much guaranteed by their own words and actions. But for on the field, who is more responsible for the current condition of the Minnesota Twins? Is it Rocco Baldelli or Derek Falvey?
Falvey.
I think it's got to be Falvey, doesn't it?
Yeah. He's the boss. He's the one bringing in the players.
And it's yeah, exactly. And whatever these grand experiments were intended to do, they don't. Most of the ball guys we talk to say, well, the mix, there's not enough talent here. The mix doesn't make sense here. None of this makes sense here. I'm not, again, going to pretend that Rocco was headed for the Hall of Fame as a manager. I'm not even here to say that there weren't things worthy of criticism in his case. But I got to tell you, man, more times than not, what I looked at was, what do we got? What are we doing?
Who's he throwing out there?
Yeah, how is this supposed to be held together? Now, you could say it's not all Falvey's fault. Also, if you go back to when we won that playoff series and then we kicked $30 million out of the payroll and you say,
yeah,
well, that's not Falvey's fault either. But if you force me to choose between the two, I think it's more on Falvey. Now, maybe he's so embedded with the poll ads at this point now because he's a business guy too. They're so dependent on him. And to some extent, maybe they believe in him, maybe even his business acumen. I mean, in all seriousness, especially post-trade deadline, it's almost criminal to blame the manager for a gutted rotation. I should say gutted bullpen. The Twins' bullpen ceased to exist after the trade deadline. Correct?
It did.
I mean, come on.
The top 5 relievers were sent out.
That to me is the bad look here. Somebody's got to go, and you know what the cliche is? You can't fire everybody, so we'll fire the manager. So go ahead, have at it, blame everything on him. If you think that that's going to turn everything around, I might have an edible for you. Although I don't know if the edibles will be powerful enough to get the point across. I'm not sure. Plenty of time to explain exactly why we not ass when it comes to the Vikings. In fact, maybe Ben Leber, who's going to join us from across the pond. Is he already in London, or are they still in Dublin?
I think they were going today.
Today?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll find out where he is. He's already there. We'll get his reaction to the disappointing setback. More on the breaking Twins news, Vikings talking points by Federated Insurance, a lot of stuff.
We can make at least one person feel better because Bonus Bucks is back.
Nice.
The Fan and 2 men and a junk truck. Want to give you a shot at Bonus Bucks? It's our national cash contest. The first keyword of the week is Bills. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword Bill.
The Fan.
All right, here's a quick look at the guest lineup on the Bumper Bumper program today. Usually day after games, we're joined by Adam Thielen, the Vikings wide receiver, had a couple nice third down conversion pass receptions. But because the club, of course, is across the pond, Thielen is going to join us tomorrow. And because of the time difference, Ben Leber, Nacho Leber, is going to join us right now. Can you pot him up for me? I got the phone too far away from me. And we'll say hi to Nacho. Are you already in London or still in Dublin?
We are in London. I guess technically not London, but we are in England, and we are north of London, about over an hour.
Is it an exotic, picturesque setting that you're in, or kind of boring, or how would you describe it?
A little bit of A, a little bit of B. It's beautiful. We're staying at a hotel that was originally, the original carriage house was built in like 1412 or something.
Yeah, some history. Yeah.
It's got a lot of history, but it is in the middle of nowhere. So, yes, it's very sleepy. It's very quiet. You have to speak in hushed tones everywhere you go.
Is it a manor? I always wanted to stay in a manor. Is it do we know if it was ever a manor?
That's a great question. I don't know if it constitutes as a manor.
Okay.
But I think so the team has multiple hotels. I think where the team is staying and not the unwashed where I am.
I see.
I think they are actually on a manor. I think it's called something manor.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So you guys are in a different spot. You peasants have been stuck in a different location. Is that correct?
Yeah. I actually just left the corner begging for bread, but I got some. Yeah.
Any quick across the pond reaction to the Rocco Baldelli news? You're a big baseball guy. Twins have confirmed they have fired their manager, and it's funny because we're obviously going to talk Vikings with you, but you've been around this game long enough to know this is sort of the way it goes, regardless of sport. Sooner or later, the coach goes. The manager goes. Sometimes that individual deserves it. Sometimes it's because they don't know what else to do. Sometimes it's a combination of things. But the Rocco era of Twins baseball is apparently done.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I feel like, at least from my vantage point, being a little far away from it, it seemed like he was being a good soldier through the whole thing when they were slicing and dicing the team and basically giving him nothing to work with and saying, hey, go out and put out a good product, even though we're going to take away all your players and trim the fat. I don't know what else you want him to do. I mean, obviously, I'm sure that there's things that happen behind the scenes. I'm sure words have been said before. Maybe he was one of those, maybe he said to the public one thing and said something differently privately. Yeah. But it seemed like to me he was as good of a soldier as you could have ever wanted in this situation.
That's very well stated, and you're right. They're nobody. I mean, almost to the point, maybe in the case of some fans, and even me, last time we had him on, of exasperation with how good a soldier he has tended to be. And as we talked about earlier, Ben, as you mentioned, I mean, they literally gutted the rotation. I should say again, the bullpen. They gutted it at the trade deadline, and I don't know what you would expect. I mean, name the best. Earl Weaver, could not have done anything with this particular roster. But that's for more discussion for another day. Let's do the post-mortem, thanks to our good friends at Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, of your Vikings, their loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers yesterday. What, at the top of your list of disappointments, frustrations, whatever, what's at the top of the Ben Leber list after yesterday's loss?
Well, it seems like in the two losses that we've had, it's a lot has to do with the play at the line of scrimmage. It's not being able to stop the run consistently on defense. Aside from the fact that we just couldn't alter any of the quick passing, we just couldn't seem to distract Rodgers consistently. And yeah, I mean, I think that obviously the 80-yard single pass on first down for touchdown, I mean, that skews a lot of it. But it just seemed like they had the momentum a lot of the times on early downs. And I think at one point in time, I calculated, I think it was probably end of third quarter, into the fourth, they were averaging something like 5.5 yards a play on first down.
Yeah.
And that's just not good enough. I mean, and then the same thing offensively. We go from rushing for 116 yards last game and dominating the line of scrimmage to not being able to run the ball successfully, not being able to protect it when we need to. And so I would say getting pushed around and getting sort of controlled throughout the whole game is my biggest concern.
The oldest thing in this game, right? No matter how much it changes, no matter how refined it becomes from a passing standpoint, the line of scrimmage, it's immutable. The line of scrimmage still matters pretty much every week, and we saw, you're exactly right, we saw a lot of that in Dublin for sure. How concerned are you when you also factor in now the level of injury along an offensive line that obviously this team was trying very hard to rebuild over the course of the last offseason?
Well, I'm really concerned now. You get Ryan Kelly, who it sounds like, if we're doing the calculations, if I understand correctly, he had 3 concussions last year. 2, at least one he's being evaluated for this last game. But if we want to chalk that bit as 2, we've got 5 concussions in the last year. I mean, I don't know when he would come back. You got to be safe with these things, like ultra cautionary. And if he's had 2 within the last couple of weeks, my guess is they would shut him down for a long time. And then he has to make a decision based on his age. Does he want to keep going? And, I wouldn't fault him at all if he just said, listen, I need to step away from this game. This is just happening too frequently. I can't bounce back. It's not good for my long-term health. So I'm very concerned about his personal health and what that means to the team. And then, I haven't heard, unless you want to drop another bombshell on me, like Rocco's news, I have not heard the MRI results from Brian O'Neill. And based on what I saw with my own eyes, he came out after halftime and he was trying to give it a go. Yeah. I mean, he had a knee brace on that knee. He was trying to do some movements. Ultimately, obviously, they decided he wasn't deemed well enough to play. So how severe is that? We also know that Jackson won't be back at left guard for another couple weeks. So I'm very concerned about this offensive line. And I don't know what you can do. I'm sure with a lot of resources at your disposal, I mean, do you fly 1 or 2 practice squad guys or a practice squad guy over, and then you pick up another guy off the waiver somewhere off the streets and fly him over across over here to England? Because as right now, Walter Rouse is the only guy that was not suited up in this game. And other than that, I don't think we have a lot of availability for the Browns.
Leber, dateline outside of London. Of course, the Vikings continue their European tour on Sunday this coming Sunday against the Browns. You mentioned Rodgers, or maybe I mentioned Rodgers, regarding the somebody found the stat. I don't know how these stats get located, but in this case it was that in terms of quickness of getting rid of the ball, it's the fastest on average he's gotten rid of the ball since I think it was 2016, for God's sake, forever. It was very clear that what Pittsburgh's plan was. You saw it right in front of you. Is there an antidote to it? If a team decides to go that route and the QB is as accurate as I thought Rodgers was on these little short dink and dunk passes, is there, strategically speaking, was there a way out of that box, or what did you make of that whole, I guess you could say, competition or that whole matchup?
Well, it gets tricky because, you would like to play a version of, let's just call it single high defense. You could have 1 single safety, 2 corners kind of dropping out in a classic cover 3 look. And that just means that you've got a multitude of guys. You could even drop a defensive lineman and have 5 guys underneath coverage and just kind of take away all that short, quick passing game. Now, you are going to limit any sort of pass rush that you may have. So therein lies the problem, is if they get the beat on the fact that you're not going to rush after him and he's going to have a lot of time in the pocket, well, then it's only going to take them a couple plays for them to be like, all right, well, let's dial up something a little deeper and let's attack those single high safeties and let's really put a couple layered routes on those corners out there that are dropping in a deep third. And that becomes the chess match. So I think mixing up coverages is what you have to do. But when you've got a pretty skilled quarterback that didn't seem to me, I don't know what it looked like on the TV copy, but never once did he seem like he was flustered by what B-Flow was thrown at him, and didn't seem confused at all with any sort of disguise or coverages we had out there.
What happened from your vantage point on the 80-yard, the short completion to Metcalf over the middle, quick throw that ends up going for 80 yards?
Well, it looked like our middle linebackers both sort of, if I can paint this picture from an offensive standpoint, they were drifting to the left based off of just initial action and his eyes. And then when he comes back with his eyes to the right, they're supposed to basically mirror him and really sort of break at a 45. And if they both do it at the same time, they sort of take away that window. And that is the small void there. The safety over the top is, not going to challenge that from picking the ball off. They're there just to basically tackle the guy. So the underneath coverage was short, and it did not respond to the flow of where the passing routes were going and where the quarterback was going. So to me, I think the underneath coverage was slow on that. They didn't respond, and there you go. You miss one tackle, and that big dude's out the gate.
Have we seen enough football? Is what's the record now? 4 games, obviously. So we're not even quite a quarter through the season. Have we seen enough to wonder whether it was indeed a mistake to trade Harrison Phillips?
I thought about that too. I don't think so, because I think what is happening is, in the games that we lose, we're just not we're not dictating what's happening on defense. I mean, whether Harrison Phillips is in there or not, we're going to be playing on our heels, second guessing whether it's going to be a pass, a play action pass, a run, and then what type of runs. I mean, in this last game, they didn't really gash us in the A gaps. They gashed us sort of off tackle and on the edge. So I don't know if a Harrison Phillips in there that plugs up the A gap is really going to help, especially in this last game when I think a lot of their yardage was outside.
It's funny because before the game, I saw the list, for each team of players who are out for this game, and there was a lot of discussion about the fact that that Jaylen Warren, the Steelers starter, number one running back, was out, and what a massive break it was, an advantage for the Vikings, who, of course, also missing some important pieces. And then they have no problems running the ball. As you said, somebody named Kenneth Gainwell, second half, 14 carries, 74 yards. So, again, we the week before, we handled the run well. The week before that, we handled it poorly. So that had to be, as you say, I mean, look, Rodgers was very accurate, and he looked good yesterday. But and I know, nobody wants him at this point throwing 52 times, but you sort of got to try to force him to, right? And that obviously played into the hands of the Steelers, not asking Rodgers to do more than he's capable of doing at this point.
Well, in a course of a game, if it's not broke, don't fix it. It might look boring, and It might not be, super explosive at the catch, but again, if you trust your guys in space, then you get a DK Metcalf 80-yard touchdown run, and all of a sudden you have an explosive play off of a 10-yard pass. So I do think, and I do sympathize with the defensive linemen, because when in the course of a game, and especially when you're talking about the second half, where you are a little bit more tired, you're run down, and you are second-guessing yourself every single play, that if on first and second down, you're going all out to stop the run, and for the first 30 minutes of the game, you're getting hit with play action and quick throws the whole time. And then you're like, okay, well, in the back of my mind, maybe I should have my eyes up a little bit more.
Right.
Maybe I can tip a pass. Maybe I can get my arms up. Maybe I can affect the game that way, disengage from a block, and maybe help make a tackle. You start becoming a softer run player on an early down. So it's imperative for all the players and the coaches to just remind each other, listen, it's not your job up front. Your job is to stop the run. And I know what that cat and mouse game is like mentally, where you're it's kind of like the cliched trying to do too much.
Yeah.
And as a defensive lineman, no. Second half, I don't care if they're throwing the ball and he's getting the ball out of his hands in 1.8 seconds. You have to stop the run, and you have to be going forward and getting vertical and doing those things. Let the back seven handle that. But it's a lot easier said than done. Ben
Leber chatting with us. I got a couple more questions for Ben. We are aware of the breaking news. We talked about it during the first segment. The Twins have announced the dismissal of their manager, Rocco Baldelli. More on that later. In fact, I think we may be adding Lavelle E. Neal III to our list of guests today. So we are aware, and we'll certainly get back to that story as well. Give me your, I guess, evaluation on a day, obviously, where, especially the second half, Steelers were getting endless pressure. Your evaluation of Carson Wentz in his second start.
It's funny because to me, he's ripping throws over the middle that we didn't see from J.J. McCarthy, and it is a big part of this offense. We can't just attack outside the numbers. A large part of this offense is built on, some deeper dig routes, some over routes, and he had a couple throws where I kind of said to myself, I'm not so sure McCarthy's mature enough yet to make that throw. And as the ball's released, there's a window. That window closes pretty quickly when defenders kind of put their arms up and try to tip the ball. And then all of a sudden I'm like, man, you really threaded that in there with some velocity. And so I think from that aspect, I think he's taken the offense to just a different level. I don't think that he's as mobile. I don't think that he's as fast and athletic, but I think he's a little more savvier in the pocket. The touchdown pass that you had to Zay Scott, that was a secondary route, and he had to step up in the pocket to make that throw and keep his eyes down the field. And I think just his subtle vertical pocket movement, I think, is just better than JJ's right now. So overall, I mean, he's playing good football. Is he playing great football? Well, not really, but I think he's playing winning football. I mean, I can't give him those, everybody's going to look at the stat sheet and say like, well, yeah, he threw 2 interceptions, but both balls were tipped at the line of scrimmage, and sometimes it's on the offensive lineman and sometimes it's on the quarterback. And I tend to always blame other people and not necessarily the quarterback on a tipped ball.
Yeah, and I also, given how much he ended up getting battered physically, he looked beaten down physically a couple of times. I like the fact that, he obviously stayed in the game. Now, of course, the Vikings got a big break on the blown coverage, but the fact is, I thought he hung in, under obviously not terrific circumstances. That's for sure. And look, the head coach has said all along, we're not going to play McCarthy until it's more than him being ready. He's got to practice with us and be ready. Not that we can get to Friday or in London and suddenly he's been cleared. We're not going to put him in that condition or in that circumstance. And I'm wondering too, Ben, given the state of the offensive line, if it makes it even more likely that Wentz is going to be the guy starting against the Browns.
Yeah, that's kind of what it's looking like. I was holding out hope before we even made the trip over here that, all right, well, McCarthy didn't go down with a severe injury. I'm sure it's painful. I'm sure they want to give it a rest, but I was hoping that it was going to be more of the 2-week variety and that he could play against the Browns, get a full week of practice here, again, sort of get his feet wet again and knock off the rust before you get that bye week and then you have to face the Eagles. That was kind of my hope. Now, I don't know. That might still be in play. Sure. I haven't seen him at practice. It's not like I go to practice and evaluate how he is. But until we hear otherwise, I guess we got to go with Wentz.
Give me a sense of what you've covered a few international games with the Vikings, I think, by now. What was the atmosphere like in the stadium, in the arena? On TV, it looked great. It sounded great. What was it like in the building?
It was as great as it probably looked. I was a little shocked that it wasn't a little bit more even as far as the fans in the stands. But I got to credit the Steelers fans. They really showed up. There was a lot of terrible towels. They had a lot in the crowd. They did a great job with bringing their own sort of slice of home field advantage with their PA announcer and all the things that they do at their home stadium. And then you couple that with I think just the culture here of in between or during every commercial break, the singing of popular songs with the whole crowd, Sweet Caroline, an Oasis song, a Cranberry song. It was very festive. It was lively. It felt like a European soccer match in that regard. I think the one thing that a lot of people just kind of complained about, and I don't know, maybe the NFL steps in if they want to continue to do this at Croke Park, but the video boards were very small. And I know a lot of people in the stands couldn't really tell what was going on because, we had a number of controversial calls, a couple of overturns that actually went our way. And they'd put it on the Jumbotron, and you couldn't really tell what was going on. They didn't do a very good job from that aspect of really helping the fans that were there. But, that's a minor complaint in the overall scheme.
Do you have a hot splash player of the game, underrated player of the game? What stands out for you?
Yeah, I think my Sierra Nevada Hot Splash player of the game is going to go to Zay Scott. I just mentioned him.
Yep.
And I would say it's not necessarily the catch he had. I've noticed his improvement in the pass blocking aspect of it, and he's getting so much better about that, and especially now when we need him more than ever. I mean, we need the backs and tight ends more than ever with our banged-up offensive line. And you saw Hawkinson once again lined up on the right side of school when he was in there at right tackle to really help out virtually every play against Watt. But I think Scott's done an amazing job of being so versatile, being out, split out as a wide receiver. He had the opportunity. I don't think they completed the ball, but had the opportunity for a couple screen passes. And they're keeping him in there. They are trusting him to block on third downs and passing downs, and I think that says a lot about his improvement and development.
What time is it there? What's the time difference? 5 hours? 6 hours?
It is 9:38.
9:38 p.m. So, are you all acclimated body clock wise? Have you been over the pond long enough already where you feel like, okay, I'm back, I'm good, or are you still kind of hurting?
No, I feel great.
You sound good.
Yeah, it didn't take me very long. I know, they've kind of got this thing down to a science, and you just kind of keep everybody up on Friday when we get here. And thankfully, I had a couple of events that kind of kept me going. And I got a decent amount of sleep Friday night, and then I went through Saturday like no problem. And had a chance to even catch a few more hours on Saturday night because it was a 2:30 kick here on Sunday. So. Yeah, I feel good.
Browns game now become, as absurd as this sounds, given we still haven't hit October or soon will, a must win for the Purple?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you want everything still in front of you, and then we all talked about this first 5 games and what that could look like. It's not a shock to me that we're a little up and a little down. I certainly did not expect all the injuries, but if we can come out of this with a winning record in these 5 games, knowing what we have facing against us, in the next 6-7 games, I mean, it's going to be daunting. It's going to be rough. It's going to be a challenge. So let's hope that we can get a win. We get nobody injured. We get everybody coming back healthy after the bye week, and then from there we roll. Last question.
I want Ben Leber, the competitor, to answer this question. Would you be willing to accept a 40-40 tussle of a tie at the end of overtime? Just accept it because that's just the way it is. Those are the rules. Or would you rather, as a competitor, play as long as it takes, even in a regular season game, to get a winner?
I think that they should do a version of the college setup. I mean, they go from the 25-yard line.
Yes, I think that's right. Yeah.
Okay, if you want to increase the competitiveness, then start everybody at the 40 or even the 50. Mm-hmm. I think they should at least get a chance. Each team gets a chance, just like they do in college, to declare an actual winner. And I think you keep going until you declare a winner. Yeah. Nobody wants a tie. Nobody likes a tie. It looks stupid in the record books. I mean, it's like nobody wants to be, 8-7-1. That's like, it's just a dumb look. So, I think a lot of players, I know that they complain about it's extra snaps on the body and all this other stuff, but it happens so seldom that I think the players would welcome the idea that I'm going to play 15 more snaps and actually be declared the winner or the loser.
Excellent work as always. Have fun in and around London. I hope some morsels come your way. Because I can tell that you're in the needier hotel perhaps, and you're gonna going to be scraping by for whatever you can get. So I hope good fortune comes your way, Ben Leber, across the pond.
Yeah, no, and you know I kid. You should see this place. It is ridiculous. The food I had tonight was spectacular.
Oh, nice.
No, it's a very, very cool hotel. It is in a little bit middle of nowhere. It is like takes a little bit of thought to like kind of get place to place, but no, it's very nice.
Thanks, Nacho. Have fun. We'll talk next week.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Ben Leber helping us out as only he can do. Brought to you by Sierra Nevada Brewing Company. Adam Thielen will join us tomorrow. Just a scheduling situation, the obvious scheduling quirk being across the pond. So Thielen will join tomorrow. Have we negotiated a settlement to get Lavelle on the program today? I'll try to get that question answered by Guardsy when we come back. The big, I guess, breaking news locally from the toy department is that Rocco Baldelli has been fired as the manager of the Minnesota Twins. The Twins expressing great disappointment with the way Rocco handled the bullpen after the trade deadline. Yeah, I'm kind of making that up, but that's the really sad part of this story. How any manager was supposed to keep anything remotely professional together after those atrocities were committed, I don't know. News broke during the first segment of the Monday Bumper to Bumper program, a show that we are dedicating kind of, well, maybe tongue-in-cheek, but we're not so sure, to the concept of at least we not ass. What do you like better? We not ass or bring your ass?
Yeah, they're from the same family.
I think they are.
Yeah. I think it depends on the day.
That's very
Which
true.
one I like better.
I think it's fair to say that as Cam Ward, the quarterback for the Tennessee Titans, said about his own Titans team, we ass right now. The Minnesota Twins are ass right now. Vikings, it's hard to be real optimistic after losing a very winnable game to the Steelers and the way they did. A lot of good Vikings talking points the rest of the way, and we're guest-free, at least as of right now, the rest of the way, because our effort to get Laval on ruined by the fact that he's on a plane right now to fly back here.
From Vegas.
And I don't think he'll land before the show wraps up, so maybe we'll get some emergency Laval tomorrow. Twins making news that Rocco Baldelli, who for the record is the third winningest manager in team history, has indeed been fired.
It's not good baseball.
Twins finished 70-92 this year. They missed the playoffs for the fourth time in the last 5 years as well. We're reminded by StarTribune.com, Twins are one of 5 MLB teams currently searching for a manager. Now, but this begs the question, are we certain the Twins will replace Rocco as manager? In other words, is it possible they decide, here's another way we can save money. We'll have Falvey not only general manage and run the business, we'll have him manage
Fill out the
4 or 5 times a week. Yeah, well, he kind of does that now is the word behind it.
That's what they say.
That's what Jack Morris used to tell us, right?
He did.
Back in the day.
He absolutely used to tell us that.
He finishes, Rocco, it's hard to believe that Rocco was here for 7 years, but he was.
Yeah. The whole Falvey run.
Correct. His overall record, 527 and 505. TK and Gardy, who each have won more than 1,000 games as managers of the Twins, are the only Twins managers who have won more games. You recall that we had 3 AL Central Division crowns under Rocco, 2019, 20, 23. 2019, he won the American League Manager of the Year award. What was I going to say here? Where was it? I think I saved it. Gleeman had a tweet. This was before the managerial news that caught my eye. The Twins have had 16 seasons at Target Field.
Crazy.
And their overall record through those 16 seasons is 1,191 and 1,299. That's a 478 winning percentage. He says that ranks 24th out of 30 teams over that period. 24th
baseball.
Out of 30 teams, missing the playoffs 11 of 16 seasons, including 4 of the last 5. They've lost 90-plus games in 6 of those 16 seasons. They've won 90 or more in only 2 of those 16 seasons.
That's worse than I would have thought.
That's correct. Now, there's a lot of texters here who are on board with the dismissal. They have been on Rocco for years. They don't like the way he handles a pitching staff. I think that's gotten a little bit overcooked and oversimplified over the years. My sense of it was that as the rotation got better, he loosened the rope a little bit and let them throw a little more. Now, were there times where I still thought he was a little bit too by the numbers, by the analytics? Yes, absolutely. I didn't like the fact that I think this is a legitimate criticism. This struck me as one of the worst base running and just base stealing teams that I've ever seen. It just never seemed to be an emphasis. Now, you can go back to, did they have people who could do it? Was that it more than it was a lack of emphasis? I don't know. But I don't know how anybody, again, this is all, we've talked about so many Twins moves, how ill-timed they are. Announcements, ill-timed. And this strikes me again as another one that you might be able to justify, but looks awful at the time you do it, because Rocco has, in my mind, literally zero responsibility for the team falling off the edge of the cliff post-trade deadline. That roster was gutted, starting with the bullpen. And that's the problem with making this move now is you can say it's longer term than that, but the timing of it looks just pathetic and unprofessional, and quite frankly, as unprofessional as so many other moves that we associate with this team. And I'll say what I asked Guardsy earlier. If you're asking me who is more responsible for the current condition of the club, and I have to choose, I'm required to keep ownership out between Derek Falvey and Rocco Baldelli. I think it's on Falvey. How many years have we been told about we got all these young pitchers coming up in the pipeline? We don't even know. We may not even know. We might consider going to 6- and 7-man rotations, our pitching rotations. That's how deep, how many options we have. Where are those options right now? Where is that standing out as being, that's a hell of a strength? I don't see it. There's certainly some significant questions about the lineup, the way it has been put together as well. We understand you're hamstrung from a payroll standpoint as well, but at this point, I'd put it more on the guy running the whole organization if I have to choose between those two.
That's the right power rankings, but there's such a wide gap between 1 and then 2 and 3.
Correct. Right? There's no question.
That's still the biggest problem.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe this is part of a sweeping reorganization plan and a new aggressive plan. And at some point, they're going to talk instead of throw out statements, and they're going to unveil this master plan that they have that includes a new voice and a freshness.
A couple people have asked the same question over and over. Is it possible? What we don't know is that Rocco said, I've had enough. And I understand the question, and I wouldn't blame him, but that just doesn't sound like Rocco.
No, it doesn't.
I just don't think it's the kind of thing where Rocco said, look, if this is your plan to cut even more payroll, and I'm still supposed to make something out of this, I can't in good conscience go forward. I just don't think that sounds like the Rocco we know. Now, maybe there's a Rocco behind the scenes. Some things have happened where he's in a very different place than he was when he was in this very studio singing the praises of ownership and management of this particular team. So I would be surprised at that. Vikings talking points. We're going to have a bunch. Plenty of review of a very disappointing loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers yesterday on a number of fronts. We'll also keep the baseball discussion going throughout. We also have to get to the Minnesota Lynx. They're done. I prepared. When I sat down over the weekend to put the outline together for the Monday show, I had close to the top of the list. I had Vikings beating Pittsburgh 1. I had Minnesota Lynx preparing for a winner-take-all, at least in the semifinal round, Game 5 at Target Center. In fact, I was ready to suggest we do the show from the cage on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
But there will not be a Game 5.
No.
And the Minnesota Lynx, quite frankly, have only themselves and their head coach to blame for that sad, unfortunate predicament. Back in just a minute.